So, and there is no purity in that sense also. So there are overlaps like that, but I don't think a vague comparison, helps anyone. Does not really, it's not really productive at all. If you're going to, put the image of Jews on on the one side and animal agriculture on the other side and say, this is equal to that, it does not really help anyone. It basically creates a controversy. That's all. Instead, if you're going into the details of these things, like, I think it is utterly disrespectful. But at the same time, we should also acknowledge that we don't have the words that can adequately capture the violence that we do to animals. For example, even slavery or the Holocaust, uh, while we did, enslave them, we did put them to work and stuff like that. We never ate those bodies, right? Uh, their labor was always, for example, the blacks worked in plantations, and we basically used the tobacco from that plantation. So the fruit of the labor was some, the cow was not going to be there because we would be eating the cow. So there is that problem. Like the whole eating aspect does not really come in either slavery or Holocaust, because yeah, there was never a genocide in which humans ate their victims. So the whole slavery or Holocaust, label is insufficient for what we do to animals. We need a new word, but then yeah, we have to think about where that word can female dogs, which are purebred, because we need those purebred dogs for reproducing and bringing more purebred puppies into existence. And then we are going to sell those puppies. So after this dog is barren, we are going to like put them on the streets or put them down. So you can see all these different forms of oppression that happen in the life of just one purebred dog. So and all these oppressions come from different outside forces. For example, there's the oppression of heteronormativity, the oppression of uh, capitalism, the oppression of gendered species. Anyone can speak.
Hi, I just want to share a thought because this is really a new concept for me. The intersectionality of animal rights centered around human issues, especially feminism and casteism that you mentioned, right? In my opinion, the whole premise of just looking at animals in the same light as these issues, in a way, sort of contradicts because the whole fact that animal slaughter itself is normalized, right? If that is considered as okay, in fact, even our fails to do its like 100% justice to what we are trying to achieve, and that I find like to be a bigger issue. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Thank you for that point. The function of intersectionality ideally is not to compare or equate these oppressions. It is not to, equate casteism with what animals are experiencing, or it is not to equate uh, misogyny or like patriarchy with what animals are experiencing. Because first of all, intersectionality is trying to bring in all these things together. Just how casteism operates, just how the caste system operates. For example, it operates by considering certain beings as above other beings, and these other beings, the caste system always considers as polluting, as dirty, as like wretched beings, which can be killed and which can be treated any way that we want. So that is how the caste system organizes humans and animals. Right? It places some beings above other beings. So this power of knowledge of that. Uh, so it is to say that that one angle of oppression that the buffalo is subjected to comes from the caste system. And it is not to say that, it is not to bring in any angle of equating or comparing. It is just to say that an effect of a certain form of oppression is also applicable to certain animals. That is all the intersectionality. That is the main content of intersectionality, like that. So it tries to bring in a lot of those things together. It tries to bring in the caste angle. It tries to bring in the gender angle and things like that. What I was saying was that we try to learn lessons from other moments in how that oppression works. So that is the point of bringing in other moments into the picture. It is because we learn from those other moments, and similarly, we also have lessons to offer other moments. We obviously have the lesson that it is not just humans who are oppressed under the caste system; it is also animals, and animals are also given caste. Uh, and some animals are treated better than other animals, or some animals are considered as more privileged than other animals, it does not really mean that they're treated.
I have a question, Unmi.
Huh.
So I'm not. So I don't know how to put it this one in words, but so now before this session, I had a complete different idea about intersectionality. Am I audible?
Yes, it's go on.
Okay, yeah. So I had a complete different idea about intersectionality, the one that we see in the main from a different species,
Right.
like the cows and stuff like that. So and post about these things. So my question is whether it was right to do. I was still thinking whether it's a right thing to do so. Is it a right approach to do so? Because it kind of felt like we're hijacking the moment, but then I was confused. It should be highlighted as well, which got me thinking. And then recently, the case that happened in Mumbai, where a foreman raped the lizard.
Right.
A lot of my non-vegan friends were posting about it, but then I realized the woman bringing it to the woman's, and not that I'm saying that the women don't go through enough. We do go through enough, but the entire focus was changed here. So, what is the right approach to do so? Can we go ahead and have, in a sense, hijack the other woman and do say that women of other species also get go through the same thing? But when they did it and I pointed out, and they didn't feel right. They were like, I was the one.
The animal at the center of attention, or placing the animal as the real victim. For example, in the monitor lizard case, that is something that most of the other moments, or like the general public in India is not really used to that, right? So obviously, when you hear that news, you don't really think about the monitor lizard at all. Most people don't really think about the monitor lizard at all, because why would you even think about the monitor lizard? Because it's ugly and then it's just a lizard. So why would you really think about that lizard? Instead, people would obviously think, like you said, about the depths of other moments, because they are all very anthropocentric like that. They don't really look at the victimhood or look at the violence that was done to the lizard, first and foremost. They don't really do that. And that is where our duty as animal rights activists and animal justice advocates comes in. Because our primary duty is to expose the violence that is invisibilized, right? The violence that is hidden. For example, in the case of the monitor lizard, the violence to the really asking about any of that. So it is our duty as animal rights activists to not really go with the anthropocentric lens, but to instead point out the real violence that was done to the animal in the first place, right? And similarly, with a lot of other issues also, when this happens in all of our lives, like when people are talking about how much they love animals, it is important to first of all like acknowledge that they might be treating their animals well, or they might actually feel love for their posting on Women's Day and things like that, about what about these victims, what about animals. Regarding that, I don't. It is something that we should, and we are. It's not that we are not. It's something that we should be talking about throughout the year. It's not just something that International Women's Day should not be our entry point into the gender wala violence that animals face. It is something that we should be talking about consistently. It should be something that we are raising consistently. We should be talking about, go both ways. From their part, obviously, they should also take the animals seriously, like the victimhood of animals seriously. At the same time, uh, our activism should not be limited to just pointing out that okay, there are these female beings which are getting exploited and no one is talking about them. Uh, for example, I'm making a post on International Women's Day about chickens are also getting exploited, but there is no, they are not counted under International Women's Day. A response to people, all the disabled, the underprivileged people in my life, and how exactly am I helping their cause? Am I like raising awareness in my own circles about their cause? So that responsibility goes both ways. It should go in the direction of obviously like pointing out to the gaps in the feminist movement when it comes to animals. At the same time, it should also mean that we are going to look at ourselves at our own moment and ensure that there is WhatsApp group or three mail. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, you can message Uni directly. And Uni, you said you'll type the name of the movie in the chat. Yeah, it is. So this is available on Prime. Also, if you have any other resources which volunteers can read or watch to learn more about how to do. I think AFCO, and I'll type out their names. AFCO and Silko. These are two black sisters who have developed this concept called black veganism, and it is looking at instead of speciesism, instead of looking at the whole sentient aspect, they are looking at the whole category of the human and how when you consider someone, like putting a lot of emphasis on the human basically means that there is also someone who is not human, and that not human you can basically kill and do whatever you want. So they are trying to, and then they build a movement like that. So you can definitely check out this movie. It's called Pride. It's a little old movie. I think I will find it once you Google. Any other resources? Yeah, if I can think of it, I'll get back to you.
Great. Thank you, guys, so much for attending. This is a very less talked about topic, and as some of you mentioned, in the mainstream vegan community, there's a lot of bashing. I mean, like this black veganism, and there's different aspects of intersectionality talked about. But in the context of India, there's very less literature or less conversations that are had. So yeah, it's useful for us to learn this and keep on discussing and engaging in such topics. With that, I think I'd like to thank Bunny so much for giving this talk. It was super informative, and I hope others learned about it.
Thank you for organizing, Aditya.
So Tanveer.
Dude, I slept beach में थोड़ा सा. Please tell me you have the recording.